Hello, my name is Audrey Gordon, and I'd like to welcome you to day 3 of the 25 days of Copilots. Today, we're going to talk about time savers for Power Apps intermediate to advanced users. So many of you have seen the wonderful demos of how quickly you can create an app using Copilot in Power Apps. But have you ever thought about this being used to save time even for intermediate and advanced users? Well, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today. Those of you that are beginners, I also will add a video to this playlist, which includes a great presentation of the beginner features with Phil Topness and Clay. And it will be awesome for you to watch that fun video as well. All right, let me start by setting context. When a new table needs to be added to a relational DB model, so you've got some type of relational database, or you've got, a high-end data system like Dataverse, right? There are things you have to think about when you begin to do this. Firstly, you have to be planning, right? You have to make some decisions on what data should you collect, what format should you have, in order to facilitate the transactions that will take place in the apps in the future, right? And you always want to do that planning first before you hit the keyboard, right? And then secondly, table creation. So now that you know what you're going to create and you know kind of what format you need, now you start building tables. Click, click, new table, click, click, new column, click, click, new column data type, and click, click, here are some other options, required, not required, stuff like that. Choices, things like that. And then thirdly, if you're dealing with model-driven apps, you also have to remember to update your forms and views, because by default, they're only going to have the primary name column, okay? And then finally, if you're dealing with Canvas apps and you want your Canvas apps to be flexible across all devices, then you need to remember to configure those with containers so that responsiveness is a little easier across device types. So that's considerable amount of work that you have to do. Even if you're experienced and you know how, you might need to take some time to do all this. So at the end of doing it, you also need to publish, share, and amplify value. And I know one of the things that I have noted when it comes to amplifying value is, are your apps discoverable? Right? Can people find them? And if they find them, do they have any idea what they do? That's the kind of thing you need to think about. So these are things that historically the intermediate and the advanced makers, they just put it on their to-do list. But let's see if we can save some time here using Copilot. All right. So I'm going to flip over to Power Apps. And here I am in the Power Apps. Now, you've seen the demos on how to do these prompts, but today I'm actually going to focus on the 4 prompts that are built in for you. So basically, when you get to this page, which is the make.powerapps.com place of whatever environment you're using, you can just click one of these. Now, one thing I want to say about clicking one of these is this is a time saver as well. If you're going to collect some RSVPs, whether it be for a wedding, a meeting, or morale event, or just to find out who's coming to the conference, then, hey, just use the Collect RSVPs link and it will build that app for you. Track sales leads. There are typical things related to tracking sales leads. So that's another app you might build before you go to a conference so that everybody you're talking to, you can just use your phone to track those leads. And then inventories. And that's another typical thing. But inventories change. Sometimes it's an inventory of office equipment. Sometimes it's an inventory of cars for rent. Sometimes it's an inventory of bikes for loan, etc. Today I'm going to click on Manage Inspections because I'm going to put together an app to manage car inspections. All right. Now, I'm going to save myself some time with Copilot, and you're going to see the many different ways I do that. So first, I'm not even going to start with a prompt. I'm just going to click Manage Inspections because it's an inspection that I'm working on. And there's so many different kinds of inspections. So broaden your head. Like when you think about inspections, think about home inspections for a developer community. Think about office inspections for a new employee. Think about environmental inspections for outside to make sure the fences are up and the bags are laid. You can go anywhere with this word, right? But here's the key. In the prompt over here on the right, you can actually get help. Sorry, I made a mistake and clicked back to the deck. You can get help from the internet, okay? Because you're using a GPT-powered Copilot, all right? So I'm going to paste this prompt into here just to save the time from typing it. And what it says is, what columns can I add to improve this table specifically for the inspection of cars at an automobile garage? And I say to the Copilot, please leverage the internet to get typical table columns and formats. Okay, so let's see what it gives me back. I'm going to go ahead and hit send. And I should have showed you what it looks like. It just has the inspection of location. So then it updates the table. And because it's car inspections, it added the car make, it added the car model, and it added the driver's license plate. All right, great. What else might I be able to do here? So I'm just sitting here thinking with my Copilot who's helping me out. And I'm going to ask, I have to make a note of whether or not they've paid for the work or whether we have to invoice them. So I'm just going to add a column to indicate any payment due. And all of these suggestions are over here on the right, so to speak. And so if I scroll over, you'll see that now it has a payment due column and it is automatically set to currency for me. So I didn't have to type the name of the column. I didn't have to select the data format. It's all done for me. Now let's add one more thing. So I might have to indicate kind of what kind of work were we focused on. So I'm going to add a choice column for follow-up, right? And basically what this means is this is something that has to be done after the work is done, after the inspection was done. So there might be a replacement part required, a recall, a paint job, accident repair. So I've just put choices in there for the prompt, but it's for the follow-up. And notice I actually do tell it I want this to be a choice column. When you do that, it's a good idea to include the choices so you don't have to do two steps. All right. So then I'm going to go ahead and press enter. And that tells me it's been updated. If I scroll over, you'll see that I have a choice column for the follow-up category. So wow, I leveraged some internet knowledge in order to get this table optimized for my scenario. And I could still use like the out-of-the-box clicks to make it faster. All right. So no matter what level of user I am, this has already saved me time. So now I'm going to click Create App. All right. So it's going to create my app. We'll just give it a minute to do that. And here we go. Here's our app. Notice that Copilot pops up on the right. I can immediately start questioning this app. There's only sample data in there, but I could add buttons, I could add screens, all of that with the Copilot panel on the right, which you will hear about during these 25 days, just not today. All right, so I'm going to close this and show you that I have all of my inspections here, the result of the inspection, any follow-up needed, blah, blah, blah. This app immediately works. I can edit this inspection and change the type. I can say, well, after all, they owe me $50. Save that. And instant app, okay? Wonderful thing about this instant app is notice that there's already this beautiful layout. It looks so modern. I don't have to worry about reformatting. And I can go up here and see what it would look like on a mobile device. It's also facilitating responsiveness for multiple devices. So this is the kind of thing that really kicks up and saves people time. All right. Now, I mentioned to you earlier that we need to amplify the value of this. Now, here's a typical boo-boo that even advanced users do. They will go to publish an app. So they will save and then publish. And when they hit this publish button, we tend to be quick to dispel dialog boxes. We like to get rid of them. So they'll press publish without putting a description. That is not a good practice. In order to amplify and make your apps discoverable as to what they need, you should update the app icon, but also add a description. Well, here's the good news, saving all kinds of users time. If this is a managed environment, then I can click here, create description using AI. Bam. Now it adds the description in the box, and I only have to edit it. So I should always read it and make sure it's correct. Maybe I just want to add the word car here. And maybe instead of your, I'll just put our. And I'm happy with this. And then I will publish. All right, so now I have increased my ability to amplify this app because it now has a description that I didn't have to write. I only had to generate and then revise. So now I'm going to go back and I want to show you something interesting that you will see when you click on apps. You can see that I'm very quick at closing pop-ups. and that's typical with all levels of Maker. So that's why I really like the create description, because it is help you keep a best practice. But if I change this view here, now you can see better the apps and their icons and descriptions. So really love that time saver. Now, thinking of model driven, here's an interesting thing. As we all know, when you have a parent account, right, and you create an app, right, so I'm going to just do, this is actually, you can all do this. If you add sample data to your environment, that means it will populate all the key components of of the common data model. The accounts, the contacts, the appointments, the activities, blah, blah, blah. It'll put a bunch of sample data in there so that it automatically works. So when I play this app, and literally I spent all of 3 minutes setting up the environment and this app, it's automatically set up for me. I can even ask questions here immediately. Which accounts have the highest account revenue? And it will actually start giving me answers to my data questions on this app that took me less than 3 minutes to build. But something even more important than that. So apparently the account with the highest revenue is Fourth Company, which has 100,000. Now I have done some editing in this data to make sure that they are real addresses because they're fake by default. Why did I do that? Because I also want these cool maps and directions down here. And this will only work if two things are met. One, you turn on maps in your features for the environment, and two, you have a real address. If you have a real address, you get these maps. But look at all the other stuff I get, blah, 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 people, activities, everything. And that's just because I'm using the common data model and sample data. So this is automatically generated. If I drop this down, you'll see that I have related contacts, etc. But I want those inspections to show up in this related, and they don't right now. I'm sure many of you intermediate and advanced people know exactly why that's not showing up there, right? It's because there's been no relationship made between that new table and these accounts, All right, so let's go back and create that relationship. So we're just going to go into tables. We're going to go into our new tables, which is inspections, and we're going to add a column. Okay, so I'm going to hit edit, new column. Now, by the way, I can also do this from within the app. So either Maker app will have the data edit capability, but I'm doing it here just for the ease of use, right? So I'm going to click new column, and I'm just going to do ref account. And so now this will enable me to set up a lookup to a customer, right? And I can, either one will work. I'm just going to use the account table here and save. All right. So now I have a relationship in my inspections to the account table. Okay. So you're going to see a difference in the app in 1 minute. I'm just going to let this save. Okay. Now I can add this to my view. Ref account. So I'm going to remove this so that I can see it. Just want to see ref account here. I'm going to remove this one because it's so long. Okay, there's the ref account, right? But it has nothing in it, so I can double click on it and relate this to an account. And I might go ahead and do that. You can also import and different things like that to make sure that you get your relationships identified. Okay, so now that I've done all that, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to my model-driven app and refresh. And you may need to do a control refresh, which will clear any cache. And there you'll see the inspections is now showing up as related. And if we click on it, we'll see the inspections that are related to it. Now, remember I mentioned to you, you have to update the forms and views. That's something you'll have to do in model-driven apps. So, quick way to do that, let's go back to our tables. Let's go to the inspection table and click edit. Actually, I'm going to go to the inspection table, and faster than that is click inspections without clicking edit first. And right here at the top of this is update forms and views. And basically I'm going to select all the columns because I want them all, and then I'm going to add them to every view. Okay? And we'll just give it a minute. All right, so now we have done it all. So basically, we used Copilot to help us create the table, create the app, add the responsiveness. If we go back to our slide here, I just want to remind you of all the things that we just did. We did the planning. Where did we do that? When we said, can you help me improve this table for car inspections specifically? Go ahead and use the internet to figure out what car inspections entail. And it gave it to us, and it updated our spreadsheet. It was so awesome. We even added a column for payment and a column for follow-up. All that formatting, we got Copilot to help us. It created the tables for us, selected the right data type for us, gave us options for those so that we could even just tell it what column choices we want. In the model-driven app, we just used the table default hub, the table hub, to go ahead and add all the columns to the forms and views. And in the Canvas app, we actually noticed that when it created the Canvas app, it put all those containers in there to facilitate responsiveness. And then finally, we were able to amplify value in the new grid using manage environments just by using the generative AI to generate a description of the app. Look at all the time we saved. That is truly the way to do it. And so I want to let you know that this is more than it appears. It's not just for beginners. It's for anyone trying to save time. So I'm going to leave you there at the end of day 3, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. As we progress through these 25 days, you're going to get loads of tips like this. So we'll come back to Copilots and Power Apps and such. So just stand by. Like I said, you're about to be spoiled. Have a happy holiday, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.